the joy and the love of the Lord. We are called to be light for the kingdom, to live in the freedom of the city of God. We are called to act with justice. We are called to love tenderly. We are called to serve one another, to walk humbly with God.
When I first became a single dad, I applied for assistance. So in order to get the assistance, there were, you had to kind of work for it, and they gave you a couple of different options. And one was a place called Workplace Success. So I met David Yasanka through that. He had this new mission and he had no one on board. So he asked if I'd like to come to the office and help from the ground up. I came aboard, new and raw and green. But I learned quickly. I've seen what it's grown into. I know how it's helped me, as a person, and helped my family. I'm helping people who are in a situation that I was in myself not long ago. David is a gentleman who deals with all sorts of different obstacles in the best way. He's a kind person, and that's affected my life as well, where I'd like to think that I've become a little bit more like that while working day in and day out with David. Isaiah is not just a housing organization. That we help in all different areas of people's lives, because people come through the doors here with different needs. We do a lot of good through here. We do a lot of good. We do need more volunteer help. There aren't enough hours to handle all that comes in through the course of the week, So we know that there's a need for Isaiah out there because we see it every day.
My kids, all three of my kids, and my mother, and myself, moved here from Kansas. When we first got here, things didn't quite go as planned, and we ended up in a homeless shelter. Went through a divorce, which left me with bad credit. I was taking care of my youngest. He has disabilities and a lot of health problems. Can't really work unless somebody's there to take care of him all the time. Where we moved here, we lost insurance, and they could no longer get any medication. You couldn't get into an apartment unless you had a job. You had to have a certain amount of income. So a friend of ours knew somebody at church, and they knew David through Isaiah. David made some phone calls, which was really good because he knew the connections and got us the help that we needed. Luckily, we could get in with somebody right away, and got my sons to see a doctor right away. We weren't getting anywhere until I met with him, and he found certain resources to help us out. It was a whole weight lifted off my shoulders just to not have to worry about where we were sleeping for the night again. He restored my faith in humanity, that's for sure.
I sold my mother's home, and from that point, I was supposed to live with a friend, and he turned his back on me. I also, at that time, lost my job, so I went to a motel room. I had $1,000 left, and I got an apartment. 2 weeks after I got the apartment, my neighbor next to me had an apartment fire, and I was more or less homeless. I was on Social Security at that time, and I can't live on Social Security, so I hooked up with Isaiah 58, and he found me an apartment, and Isaiah 58 helped me get Timberline High School.
So we're fortunate enough to have a relationship with Isaiah 58. Every single person that met Greg was impressed and he's become a big part of our team. Many people have their own ideas about what they believe homelessness to be. It really is about people being displaced, living on other people's couches, living in other people's homes, and just needing that little bit of additional support.
It's very hard to explain that, you know, when you haven't worked with a bunch of guys like this, how great you feel. And I feel good when I leave here. I feel good when I come into work. I don't got a bad thing to say about this place. Anytime you need help, you never do it alone. Always ask for help.
My son Jimmy, all of a sudden he had like this, he always had it. It's like I took him to Boston Children's like 3 years ago, and they just said it was like environmental, it was like a gland. So we went back again, and they said he needs his tonsils removed because his tonsil was pushed like halfway through his throat. And I went home, I was exhausted, and then that's when the hospital called and said that my son had cancer. And I was just like, what's going on? He went from, he's a 13-year-old boy, very ADHD, like very driving me nuts all the time, and his friends and everything. I'm like, this can't be real. He had 6 weeks of radiation, basically 5-6 months of chemo, blood transfusions, platelets, and this poor kid has been through hell, and he's got this smile that is just unbelievable. So I was living with my parents. They're elderly and stuff, they're amazing. When I got divorced, we just moved in there, and when Jimmy had his first round of chemo, it made his hearing very, very sensitive. Because he was so sensitive, Sam, he couldn't stay at my parents', and we just needed our own space and our own place. And I met Mike Collins. He got me in contact with Dave, and they helped me get this amazing apartment. So now he comes home with me and stuff, and he can have his friends over, and it's just a quiet, nice environment. It kind of rebuilt my faith in humanity, how nice people can be, you know.